Some victories taste like defeat until the truth surfaces. Robert Chen signed every divorce paper without protest, surrendering the house, cars, investments, everything. His wife, Victoria, celebrated her triumph, believing she had taken him for every penny after discovering his supposed affair. The mediator called it the fastest settlement in 30 years. Robert walked away with just his grandfather's watch and the clothes on his back. 3 days later, Victoria received a letter from Fortress Financial Group. The man she just divorced wasn't merely a mid-level banker as she believed for 8 years. He was the majority shareholder who'd built an empire worth $200 million. The letter contained something else, evidence that Robert knew about her 3 previous husbands who had died mysteriously, and that authorities were already on their way. Chapter 1. The Perfect Husband. Robert Chen cultivated invisibility like other men cultivated success. At 34, he processed mortgage applications at Community Savings Bank in downtown Seattle, arriving precisely at 8:30 each morning in his 7-year-old Toyota Camry. His 5 polyester suits rotated through the week with mechanical predictability. Lunch meant leftover rice and vegetables in Tupperware containers, eaten at his desk while colleagues dined at trendy restaurants. Everything about Robert suggested mediocrity, from his downcast eyes to his mumbled responses in meetings. This careful construction concealed an empire worth $200 million. Robert had built his first technology company at 19, selling it for $12 million before graduation. Through shell companies registered in Singapore and Luxembourg, he controlled significant stakes in 14 financial institutions. His investment algorithms had revolutionized high-frequency trading, though his name appeared on no patents. The loan officer position served a specific purpose, studying consumer banking from within while hunting for something far more dangerous than acquisitions. He was hunting a predator named Victoria Ashton. Victoria entered the bank's charity fundraiser wearing a black cocktail dress that cost more than Robert's monthly salary. 29 years old, with an MBA from Wharton, she worked as a pharmaceutical marketing director, though her true profession remained unspoken. Her smile could warm a room or freeze blood, depending on her intentions. That evening, she deployed maximum charm. Robert knew her history through 18 months of investigation. 3 previous husbands, all dead within 2 years of marriage. James Ashton, tech entrepreneur, died of sudden cardiac arrest at 31. Dr. Michael Torres, a cardiovascular surgeon, suffered a massive stroke at 42. Professor William Chen, no relation despite the surname, experienced liver failure at 38. Combined insurance payouts totaled $4.8 million. Victoria had spent every penny maintaining her lifestyle. She needed a 4th victim. She approached Robert near the silent auction table, laughing at his nervousness, touching his arm with practiced innocence. She mentioned loving numbers and wondering if he could explain mortgage rates over coffee. Her perfume carried hints of jasmine and danger. Robert stammered through an acceptance, spilling wine on his shoes, playing the exact role she expected. Victoria saw a weak man with a steady income and excellent insurance benefits. Someone who would trust completely and die quietly. Someone whose death would seem tragically natural. Robert saw his opportunity to stop a serial killer who had perfected murder through marriage. The trap required patience, pain, and the appearance of complete surrender. Neither suspected they had chosen the wrong prey. Chapter 2. The Convenient Marriage. Their courtship followed Victoria's established pattern with disturbing precision. Coffee dates where she laughed too hard at Robert's nervous jokes. Weekend lunches where she gradually introduced expensive tastes, testing his willingness to spend. She moved through relationship milestones like a chess grandmaster executing memorized openings. First kiss at 6 weeks. Meeting his fictional sick mother at 3 months. Moving in together at 8 months. Each step was calculated to build trust while assessing his financial worth. Robert played his role flawlessly. He brought grocery store flowers, apologized for his modest apartment, and mentioned his excellent company life insurance policy during casual conversation. When Victoria suggested joint bank accounts after 11 months, he agreed immediately, displaying the exact financial naivety she expected from previous victims. Their wedding took place 14 months after that charity fundraiser. Victoria insisted on a small ceremony, claiming she preferred intimacy over extravagance. In reality, she learned for her second marriage that large weddings meant more witnesses who might remember details during investigations. 20 guests attended the Seattle courthouse ceremony. Victoria wore a simple cream dress that concealed the medical alert bracelet she'd convinced Robert to wear, supposedly for his fictional heart murmur, actually to track his vital signs. The poisoning began during their honeymoon in Vancouver. Victoria's pharmaceutical background had evolved through 3 murders in a horrifying expertise. She understood how digitalis from foxglove plants could mimic natural heart conditions, how mercury accumulated slowly in organs, presenting as chronic fatigue, how ricin could be diluted to cause gradual organ failure indistinguishable from autoimmune disease. Her previous husbands had died from what appeared to be genetic conditions or lifestyle consequences. Robert knew every toxin she administered. His private medical team had prepared him with preventive treatments and regular chelation therapy. When she stirred microscopic amounts of thallium into his morning coffee, he'd already taken Prussian blue capsules to prevent absorption. When she injected mercury into his vitamins, he'd swapped the bottles while she slept. He documented everything through hidden cameras, building an airtight case while enduring calculated attempted murder. 6 months into marriage, Victoria increased dosages. Robert's supposed symptoms, fatigue, confusion, weight loss, convinced her the plan was succeeding. She opened a $2 million life insurance policy on him, telling the agent her husband's family had a history of early cardiac death. She began establishing his depression through concerned calls to friends, preparing for his eventual suicide when the poisoning became too obvious. Chapter 3. The Orchestrated Betrayal. Victoria's impatience manifested in subtle ways that Robert had learned to recognize. She checked his life insurance policy weekly, calculating payouts against her mounting debts. Her pharmaceutical sales had declined due to her focus on murder, and creditors were calling. She needed Robert dead within 3 months, but his stubborn survival frustrated her carefully maintained timeline. The solution came through a manufacture crisis. Victoria decided that divorce proceedings would provide perfect cover for his subsequent suicide. A man who lost everything to divorce might believably take his own life, especially if he'd already shown signs of depression and illness. She spent weeks constructing evidence of Robert's fictional infidelity, using skills refined through 3 previous murders. She created email accounts under feminine names, sending messages to Robert's work address while he attended meetings. She purchased a prepaid phone, exchanging intimate texts with another burner she attributed to Robert. Her masterpiece was hiring an actress from Craigslist to record tearful voicemails about their imaginary relationship. Victoria even planted lipstick-stained tissues in Robert's car and scattered suspicious receipts throughout his jacket pockets. Robert discovered each piece of planted evidence through hidden cameras he'd installed in their home and vehicles. His FBI contact, Special Agent Diana Martinez, cataloged everything in federal evidence lockers. They needed Victoria to escalate beyond attempted murder to conspiracy and fraud, charges that would guarantee life imprisonment when combined with her previous crimes. The confrontation arrived on a Thursday evening. Robert returned home to find Victoria surrounded by her fabricated evidence, sobbing with practiced perfection. She demanded explanations for his betrayal, shouted about trust, and threw the fake love letters at his feet. Her performance would have convinced anyone who didn't know about the 3 Academy Award-worthy death scenes she'd previously directed. Robert's response broke her script completely. Instead of denying the affair or begging forgiveness, he simply nodded and offered her everything. The house, cars, bank accounts, all of it. He would sign divorce papers immediately. No lawyers needed. She could have whatever she wanted if she promised to keep things quiet at his workplace. Victoria's confusion lasted only seconds before transforming into calculation. If Robert surrendered everything voluntarily, she could maintain her victim narrative while positioning herself for his murder. A generous divorce settlement followed by her ex-husband's suicide would seem tragically logical. She could even claim survivor's guilt while cashing his life insurance. Neither realized that FBI surveillance vans were already parked outside, recording every word. Chapter 4. The Willing Surrender. The divorce proceeded with unprecedented speed. Robert's attorney, deliberately chosen for his incompetence, couldn't understand his client's eagerness to surrender everything. During their single meeting, Robert insisted on signing whatever Victoria demanded, claiming he just wanted it over. The lawyer shrugged, collected his minimal fee, and prepared the simplest dissolution possible. Victoria's attorney, Janet Morrison, had handled contentious divorces for 15 years, but never experienced such complete capitulation. Robert arrived at each meeting looking increasingly haggard, effects Victoria attributed to her poisoning, but actually achieved through FBI-supplied makeup and method acting coached by behavioral analysts. He signed documents without reading them, transferring the house, both vehicles, and all visible bank accounts to Victoria's name. The only item Robert requested was his grandfather's watch, a worthless Seiko from the 70s. Victoria agreed, amused by his pathetic attachment to junk. She didn't know the watch contained a recording device that had captured 6 months of her poisoning attempts and murder planning. Victoria told her friends that Robert's rapid decline stemmed from guilt over his affair. She established a narrative through carefully orchestrated lunches where she'd cry about his betrayal while mentioning his recent weight loss and confusion. She called his workplace, expressing concern about his mental state, creating a documented trail of depression. Her performance convinced everyone that Robert Chen was a broken man heading toward inevitable self-destruction. Meanwhile, she refined his murder plan. The succinylcholine she'd obtained through pharmaceutical contacts would cause complete paralysis followed by cardiac arrest. The drug metabolized quickly, becoming undetectable within hours. She would inject him during one of his supposed diabetic episodes, a condition she'd been fabricating through his medical records. His death would appear natural, perhaps hastened by divorce-related stress. The final court date arrived 12 weeks after a confrontation. The judge, accustomed to bitter battles over assets, expressed surprise at the amicable settlement. Robert sat silently while Victoria received everything they'd accumulated during their marriage. She even kept her wedding ring, claiming she'd sell it for charity, though she actually planned to wear it at his funeral, playing the grieving ex-wife who'd loved him despite everything. As they exited the courthouse, Victoria touched Robert's arm with false sympathy. She suggested coffee next week to ensure no hard feelings. Her eyes already calculated dosages and timing. Robert agreed weakly, appearing grateful for any kindness. Special Agent Martinez watched from across the street, her team ready to move the moment Victoria attempted murder. The trap was set, baited with Robert's apparent vulnerability. Chapter 5. The Revelation. 3 days after the divorce finalization, Victoria sat in her newly sold-owned house, calculating timeline adjustments. Robert had texted about meeting for coffee on Thursday afternoon, providing the perfect opportunity for the succinylcholine injection. She would arrive early, dose his drink with a mild sedative to ensure compliance, then administer the paralytic agent in his car. The security cameras of the coffee shop would show them leaving together amicably. She'd drive him to a remote location, wait for the drug to complete its work, then call emergency services in hysterical tears about his sudden collapse. The doorbell interrupted her murder planning at precisely 10 in the morning. A courier required a signature for a certified letter from Fortress Financial Group. Victoria signed absently, assuming it involved Robert's 401k transfer or a similar financial formality. She nearly discarded it unopened before noticing the quality of the envelope. Heavyweight paper that suggested importance beyond routine documentation. Inside, the letterhead alone stopped her breathing. Fortress Financial Group controlled assets exceeding $2 billion across multiple international markets. The opening paragraph identified Robert Chen as chairman and majority shareholder, a position he'd held for 8 years under various corporate structures. The second paragraph detailed his personal net worth, $212 million held in trusts, offshore accounts, and subsidiary companies she'd never imagined existed. Victoria's hands trembled as she continued reading. Robert had purchased Community Savings Bank 6 months before their marriage, installing himself as a loan officer to study consumer banking operations. His supposed salary had been a theater. Every financial struggle, every careful budget, every apology for his limitations had been meticulously performed deception. The man she'd poisoned for $2 million in insurance held more wealth than all her previous victims combined. The letter's final section destroyed her composure entirely. Fortress Financial Group's forensic accounting department had identified unusual patterns in her financial history. They discovered connections between her previous husband's deaths and substantial insurance payouts. Their investigation had uncovered evidence of pharmaceutical procurement outside legal channels. They'd already forwarded their findings to relevant federal authorities. Victoria dropped the letter and reached for her phone, frantically calling her attorney. The number went straight to voicemail. She tried her pharmaceutical contacts, finding all lines disconnected. Her hands shook as she attempted to book a flight to Mexico, but her credit cards were declined. Her bank's website showed all accounts frozen pending federal investigation. The doorbell rang again. Through the peephole, Victoria saw Robert standing beside a woman in an FBI windbreaker. Behind them, additional agents surrounded her property. Robert's appearance had transformed completely. Gone was the stooped posture and nervous energy. He stood straight, confident, wearing a suit that probably cost more than the car she thought he couldn't afford. Special Agent Diana Martinez announced herself through the door, stating they possessed warrants for Victoria's arrest and property search. The charges included attempted murder, insurance fraud, conspiracy, and 3 counts of first-degree murder across state lines. Victoria backed away from the door, her mind racing through escape possibilities that didn't exist. The arrest proceeded without resistance. As agents led Victoria to their vehicle, she passed Robert, standing beside an unmarked van. His expression held no satisfaction or anger, just clinical observation. She realized she'd been his experiment, a test case in identifying and capturing predators who used marriage as a weapon. Every moment of their relationship had been evidence gathering. Inside the house, FBI forensics teams discovered her hidden supplies. Vials of succinylcholine, thallium, mercury compounds, and digitalis. Her laptop contained researched poisoning methods, encrypted communications with chemical suppliers, and detailed notes about Robert's fabricated symptoms. They found journals documenting her previous husband's murders with sociopathic precision, including dosage calculations and behavioral observations during their final days. Chapter 6: The Final Account. The trial of Victoria Chen Ashton became Seattle's most sensational criminal proceeding in decades. Prosecutors presented 8 years of evidence that Robert had methodically gathered, creating an unprecedented record of attempted murder in real time. The courtroom gasped when they played recordings from Robert's watch, capturing Victoria discussing poison dosages while believing him unconscious. Her journal entries, read aloud, revealed a predator who viewed husbands as financial investments with planned expiration dates. Robert testified for 3 days, his transformation from submissive victim to calculating investigator stunning the jury. He explained discovering Victoria's history through pattern recognition algorithms he developed for financial crimes. The same mathematical models that identified insider trading had flagged her suspicious insurance payouts. He'd married her, knowing she would try to kill him, accepting the risk to prevent future murders. The pharmaceutical evidence proved devastating. FBI toxicologists testified about exotic poison combinations found in Victoria's possession, matching substances detected in her exhumed victims' remains. Her previous husband's families filled the gallery, finally understanding that their loved ones hadn't died from natural causes, but from calculated murder disguised as marriage. Victoria's defense attorney attempted to paint Robert as an entrapment orchestrator, but the strategy collapsed when prosecutors revealed she'd begun poisoning him before he could have known her methods. Her own meticulous documentation, kept as trophies, provided the timeline that convicted her. She'd written about each husband's decline with scientific fascination, noting how different toxins produced varying symptoms. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. 3 murders, 1 attempted murder, insurance fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering. The judge sentenced Victoria to life without parole, consecutive sentences ensuring she would die in prison regardless of appeals. Robert donated his entire fortune to establish the Chen Foundation for investigating suspicious deaths. The organization employed forensic accountants, toxicologists, and data analysts to identify patterns suggesting spousal murder for profit. Within 18 months, their work led to 12 additional arrests nationwide. Victoria's case revolutionized insurance industry protocols. Companies now require enhanced screening for policies exceeding $1 million, including pharmaceutical background checks and cross-reference death databases. The Victoria Protocol became standard training for federal agents investigating suspicious deaths. From prison, Victoria maintained her innocence through a blog that attracted conspiracy theorists and anti-feminists. She claimed Robert had orchestrated everything, that she'd been framed by a billionaire with unlimited resources. Her supporters never explained the journals, the poisons, or the 3 dead husbands. Robert returned to anonymity, his true identity protected by federal witness provisions. The lone officer Robert Chen ceased to exist. His fictional life ended as deliberately as Victoria's freedom. Sometimes the best hunters disguise themselves as prey. Was Robert Chen a hero, or did he risk too much for justice? How many black widows still walk among us, searching for their next victim? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more true crime stories where justice comes from the most unexpected places.